Hello, the arc lamp of an old-fashioned projector bursts into life, and that's the first image in the opening title sequence of Ingmar Bergman's film Persona, made in 1966. It illustrates, with an accuracy we expect from Bergman, his obsession with film and the mechanics of filmmaking. Tonight, we present the first interview Bergman has ever given on British television, and we concentrate on his most personal films. That Persona sequence goes on to throw out more images, all very personal to Bergman. Many of Bergman's obsessions appear in that short and brutal sequence. There's filmmaking, of course, and the snippet of silent farce from The Devil's Wanton. That's the first film he wrote and directed. And the eternal questions are there, his relations to God and to faith. Bergman is the son of a Lutheran minister, the pain of the crucifixion, the nail being driven through the hand. This year, Ingmar Bergman is 60. Over the last 30 years, he's made 36 films and he's written the vast majority of them himself. In that time, he's also been the director of the Royal Dramatic Theatre in Stockholm. It still isn't uncommon for him to direct 2 or 3 plays in the theatre in a year, as well as writing and making a film. He's probably best known in Britain for his television films Scenes from a Marriage with Leif Ullmann. But a whole generation of his admirers, including me, grew up in Britain on a diet of regular visits to see the latest Bergman, and this was especially true in the 50s and 60s, when many people shared his obsessions with the great questions of life and death. But there are those, and perhaps they've come to the fore in the 70s, who object to the tone of his films and call them too gloomy or too morbid or even too grim. They don't share and they don't like his view and his range of life. They're simply no longer prepared to share in Bergman's personal obsessions. But there are many more who believe him to be, as I do, quite simply one of the finest film directors alive. One thing which is absolutely clear about his films is they're under the total control of one man, and that control extends into his private life. He's meticulously punctual, he's meticulously tidy in his office and in his planning, his hours of work and rest are strictly allocated and kept to, and yet outside this area of tight control is the deeply private Bergman, a Bergman of many marriages, of nervous depressions, furies, public rows, a Bergman who's now withdrawn from his native Sweden to live and work in the heart of the German film industry in Munich, which is where we went to film him at the Bavarian Film Studios. We caught Bergman between films. He'd just finished Autumn Sonata, he was just setting up his next film, and typically he was planning another production at the National Theatre in Munich. He has a flat in these studios on the outskirts of Munich. It's planned and functional with no attempt to impose a cosy or folksy or personal charm on it. Bergman had very definite ideas about the shooting of the interview. He wanted hard chairs and he wanted them unusually close together. The most important thing, he said, was the face, and especially the eyes. So before we began, he checked the lighting and asked the producer, Andrew Snell, to sit in his chair while he looked through the camera. Finally, he said he wanted to be filmed in front of an open doorway. The interview was clearly going to be a strain for him. His final reason for doing it, he said, was to bring him and his British audience a little closer. It was part of a constant need of his to get in touch with other people. And we were soon to find out he had his own way of putting a charge in the atmosphere.
Take one.
Ha! Right.
Yes.
Good. You got your first piece of film, your first projector, when you were very young, about 9, didn't
you? Yes. Do you want me to tell about that?
Yes.
You know, cinema, film, was to me an obsession. I don't know. I saw my first picture when I was 6 years old, and then I was completely lost. And what I wanted most of all, that was to have a projector of my own, you know, a small one, just a toy, children's toy, not very expensive. And one Christmas, before Christmas, the Christmas presents were under the staircase in a small what's
pile.
That? Yes,
Heap.
yes. And I saw there was a brown package, and I knew this is the projector. And I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and then Christmas came, and my brother got the projector. And I was so disappointed, so I think I'm dying. I can't survive this. But we had both, my brother and I, tin soldiers. So I bought, on the day after Christmas Eve, I bought from my brother the projector and gave him my whole army. And then that was the beginning of my my life as a filmmaker. Yes.
Har du någonsin drömt något på natten? Så vaknat på morgonen så mjuk inuti att det bara vill tjuta. Så gå långa vägar för att ta reda på det där du drömde om. Eller också gå ifrån allting.
Jag vet inte. Jag har aldrig haft någon att drömma om på det sättet.
Man vaknar på morgonen. Har med sig en massa bilder och drömmar. Så blir man så mjuk inuti.
Vad sa du?
Ingenting.
Skönt. Ja, man är ju snygg förstås. Men jobbet sliter. Åtminstone på tårna. Och den odödliga själen.
Some pictures are close to my heart, and about some pictures I don't care. And Summer Interlude is close to my heart, because for the first time, not only because that it worked for the first time, but there was something in it that I liked. I think it's impossible today, the whole picture, but it has to do something. It has something to do with my way of telling a story, of managing the whole machine. I managed it for the first time, and that was extremely satisfying.
Yes, it's a ballet dancer who is mourning, isn't she? Really,
yes.
a love that she lost in her youth, and the scenes that moved me enormously when I first saw it were the scenes of her and the young Henrik when they were having this innocent love, when she's on the boat and sees him on the...
Oh yes, yes. You know, it's... of course, I liked it, and in a way it had to do with me very much. It was very personal in a way, the whole picture. But I think it's a very, very bad picture today.
You think it's a very bad picture?
But I like it.
Yeah.
God dag igen.
God dag.
Är det kallt i vattnet?
Ah, inget vidare, men det är varmt på land. Får ni någon fisk?
Nej, de sover än.
Ska ni inte bada?
Nej, så kallt i vattnet så.
Ja, det är varmt bara man kommer i. Försök bara.
Skulle inte vi eventuellt kunna lägga på titlarna? De vi nu har.
Och det tycker jag med.
Jag menar, det går alltid lättare att prata då.
Ja.
With Summer Interlude, I think this picture was good that year, but it has some pictures grow older beautifully, and some pictures just grow older. And you understand, and it would be much better if the pictures as a theater performance just disappeared.
Where did the idea for the beginning of Sawdust and Tinsel come from?
I don't know. I don't know. I have always been fascinated by the circus. And I think I have the feeling, I think that the whole thing is about jealousy, very physical jealousy. And I was a very jealous man. And I had tried to find a solution on my own jealousy, and so I wrote it as some sort of a fairy tale, very, very clumsy, very brutal fairy tale. Physical impact of the picture was very brutal, and people reacted very strongly on it because they didn't see it. It was a tremendous fiasco. And I thought this will be my last picture. I will be out of the film business for now, definitely.
But the woman Alma who goes down to bathe with the soldiers, and then Frost, her husband, who comes
Yes.
down, the clown, to carry her back naked to the circus, almost kills himself doing so. It's shot in a very particular way. It looks. Can you tell us about how you shot it, and then why you decided to shoot it like that?
I think why I wanted to do it that way, I think originally it was a dream. Not exactly that way, because you can't materialize your dreams into a picture. That's impossible. But it was some sort of a translated dream, and in a nightmare. But you see, in my dreams, the light very often is of great importance. And to me, very strong light, very intense light is as very strong acoustic sensations are difficult and terrifying. So I had the feeling this plays in some sort of very intense light. So I wanted to take away everything that was gray. I just wanted to make it very, very black and very, very white. So we made experiments, you know, with print and a negative from the print and a new negative and a new print. So slowly we came just to the point.
And the soundtrack as well is not realistic.
No, it's highly stylized in my pictures. because without your knowing it, I always stylize the soundtrack very much.
Are you released and relieved in some way after that?
Relieved? What?
Well, you said you were a very jealous man, and you
Yes.
turned this into...
Ah, yes, I understand what you mean. Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I'm very afraid of the most of things that exists in this world, and especially I was very afraid of death. And then I thought I didn't think, I just made it. I wrote this Seventh Seal. And the Seventh Seal is about death the whole time.
Death turns up right at the very beginning of the film. Yeah.
Death is present the whole time in this picture, and everybody in this picture reacts differently to death. And after that picture, of course, I still think very much about death, and so. But after that picture, it's not an obsession anymore. I just can live with it. So that the picture was a good medicine. That was what you meant.
Yes, I wondered if it was.
Yes.
The film starts with a knight on the shore playing chess, and then death turns up rather like a monk. Why
Yes,
did
or
you
a clown. Yes, if you want it. Yes.
How you decided to make him a man?
Yes.
Rather than a presence.
Yes, because That is the fascination and the magic of the stage, or the cinema, or the picture. I think it's marvelous. If you take a chair, a very, very simple chair, that chair, and says, this is the most expensive, most fantastic, most wonderful chair made in the whole world. No chair is more expensive than that chair, because it's completely made by diamonds. If you say that, everybody will believe it if you show the chair on the stage or in the film. And then everybody will handle it that way. And I think that's the magic. So if you say, if the death comes, an actor, just with makeup as a mix up as a clown and a priest, and just the knight says to him, "You are the death," and he says, "Yes," or he says, "I am the death." You will believe it, and I think that is an incredible magic of filmmaking or theater making. You believe everything.
Vem är du?
Jag är döden.
Kommer du för att hämta mig?
Jag har redan länge gått vid din sida.
Det vet jag.
Är du beredd?
Min kropp är rädd. Inte jag själv. Vänta ett ögonblick.
Så säger ni alla. Men jag lämnar inga uppskov.
Du spelar ju schack, inte sant?
Hur vet du det?
Ja. Jag har sett det på målningar och hört i visorna.
Ja, jag är verkligen en ganska skicklig schackspelare.
Du kan ändå inte vara skickligare än jag.
Varför vill du spela schack med mig?
Det är min sak.
Det har du rätt i.
Villkoret är att jag får leva så länge jag står dig emot. Spelar jag det matt, förger du mig. Du fick svart.
Det passar ju bäst så. Inte sant?
And you got the money for that after Smiles of a Summer Night had won the Grand Jury Festival at Cannes, didn't you?
It was very good, because every company had refused Seventh Seal, yes. And then suddenly they called me from Cannes and said, "You have to come to Cannes immediately, because here is a big success." And I was very surprised, I must say. And very, of course, very happy. But I thought, now is my chance. So I took the I took the script of the Seventh Seal with me and went to the head of the company, who just was sitting in the telephone the whole time, selling the Smiles of a Summer Night over the whole world, and said to him, "Now or never." And he accepted it and said, "Yes, if you do it in 30 days, I will accept it." And we made it in 32 days or something like that. So if you see, we had a place just like this old company. It was a wonderful place outside Stockholm.
Yeah.
And there were some trees, and still, it was very idyllic and beautiful place, very old-fashioned studios. So if you can see, almost everything in Seventh Seal is made exactly outside the studios, So if you see when they are riding through this dark wood, you can see the windows of the houses behind the trees. But it was nice.
I didn't know that before, because I thought when I first saw it that it had been made in the wilds of Sweden,
No.
in raging forests with that stream coming down, but where they cross
No,
the stream was a hosepipe in the backyard.
Yes,
wasn't it?
yes, and exactly. And we had made that without asking anybody, so it was almost a catastrophe there, because we hadn't found any place where the water could go, so the whole studio was at the end surrounded by water, so that it was a little bit of a catastrophe. Well, now we were only 4 days on location in the south of Sweden
Was that for the sea?
beginning of the picture. Yes, the
Yeah.
sea.
And
The sea at the end there with the dance.
Yeah.
You know.
The artists escape at the end of the film, don't they?
Yes.
Max von Sydow, the knight, knocks the chess over to give them time to escape.
Yes.
It's very deliberate. I remember when I first saw it years ago, it fired me with optimism that artists escape.
Yes, they always find some sort of solution, I think.
Ingenting undgår dig, eller hur?
Ingenting undgår mig. Ingen undgår mig.
Jag är ängslig, det är sant.
Du är rädd.
Jag har glömt hur pjäserna stod.
Men jag har inte glömt. Så lätt ska du inte slippa undan.
Right, Andrew, turning over.
Do you know what's bad? It's when you make an interview and you don't find the words in Swedish or English or some other language, and you hear the whole time the noise of the camera, the film running, and you think, God heavens, now it starts to cost money.
Right, if you're ready, I'll put a board on. Yeah. 2, take 1. Second clap. 2, take 1.
So,
From the outside, it seems one of the things about your work is that you work with a nucleus of people, the cameraman, one of 2 cameramen,
yes.
and later relying more on Sven Nykvist.
Sven Nykvist, yes.
And the actors including von Sydow and Gunnar
Yes.
Bornstein and Harriet Anderson and later Liv Ullmann, and so a nucleus of going through.
Yeah.
What are the advantages of this?
You know, sometimes there is a miracle happening in front of the camera. Sometimes, not very often, but sometimes. But if you are very close to the actors and close to the people around the camera, and there is an atmosphere of confidence and confidence. What I mean, really, real confidence. It's suddenly something happens in front of the camera, and that is the most beautiful thing that exists. And to wait for that miracle and to hope for it is the best thing in the world.
And what happens is that something new is created.
There's something with some third dimension suddenly is present. Something that you can't calculate or find out or rehearse. There is something that happens. I don't know. I can't explain that. But it's a magic. Again, the magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see you don't don't believe it.
I do believe it. I just
find it strange.
Yes. Don't you?
No. There was in a picture, I can give you an example.
Example, yeah.
In Cries and Whispers. We had a lot of job with this death scene of Harriet Anderson. Of course, it was very difficult. And it was also technically difficult because we thought we would like, yeah, I had some idea that when she is dead, the sun comes into the room. Everything was very primitive. We were on location and we had no big lamps, and it was difficult. But we prepared and we prepared everything, and we rehearsed it, and we took it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and it was very exhausting for Harriet, of course. But suddenly there is something in the scene we have now in the film. When she dies, she looks at, suddenly she had some intention. She looks into the eyes of Kari Silvanov, of Anna, and dying, she disappears in a very strange way. And you see how something disappears out of her. You know, perhaps it's something that is close to me, that happened to me. I don't know, but I like this sequence. It's a little bit of a miracle to me. It's a little bit of a miracle. Even if in the most tragical scenes, there must be some sort of joy, some sort of lust. And if it's not there, if it's not present, the picture is just boring. And that is the most terrifying of all things. When the picture is boring, it's dead, and you can go home and kill yourself.
What I learned from you first was that one man can control everything in a film. You must keep in your head the one vision all the time, mustn't you?
Oh yes. It has to be like a flu.
Like
a flu.
Like a virus, you mean?
Yes, yes. I have to be... I have to be involved with a flu, with a virus, and that virus has to be... everybody in the studio has to be infected by this virus. When I shoot the picture, I have already planned how to edit it, and I always I like most to have somebody who has a high technical standard, a cutter, an editor, who has good nerves, because the work together with me in the editing room is not always very pleasant, because I am furious in the cutting room, and I want the editor to be extremely precise and to have a pedantic order around us with everything, and she must know where every frame of the picture is. So if I say, now we must make this a little bit longer, just 3 frames longer, she can take this 3 frames, look in 2 minutes, you must find it. So I think there are people of high integrity and high professional standard who like to play the game together with me, who just feel perhaps stimulated to play together with me.
When you said pedantic, it reminded me of the beginning of Wild Strawberries, where Victor Shortström, who was your old mentor, wasn't he?
Yes, yes.
Because he was the great Swedish film director of silent films who took you up. You starred him in this film, and at the beginning, when he gets up from his desk, he tidies things up and he says, "And a bit of an old pedant."
Yes,
That's right.
yes. I'm very pedantic. I extremely. Sometimes I think it's torture for some of my collaborators.
Is that in terms of having everything organized and being
yes.
punctual and...
Oh yes, you know, if you just want to create a universe, a little universe of your own, including your dreams and your ideas and your visions and your thoughts, it's now I talk a little bit romantic, but I hope you will forgive me for talking that way. God heavens, it was a ghost. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Can we go on?
Yes.
Yes. You know, this universe is not the reality. Reality always makes sabotage to your fantasy, to your dreams. So you have to take details out of the reality and put them into your university. But those details must be absolutely perfect to fit into this little universe. And this universe is, of course, very limited. But if it's the right construction of it, it will be a perfect mirror of the reality around you. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, and does that apply to your life as well as to your work? Do you make a structure of your life which is as pedantic as the rules you put on your work?
No, but yes, when I was younger and more scared, and I thought life was very cruel and unjust to me, I made enormous walls around me to protect myself. But you know, I'm now 60 years old, and almost everything has happened to me, and I am very grateful, and I think I had a fantastic life, and a wonderful life, and so I have taken those walls away. Now I live. I have to improvise with my life very much, but not on the stage and not in the studio.
There
Not with, no.
There you still build
yes,
your...
Yes, I'm still.
When you say actually building a construction there, let's take Wild Strawberries. Let's take that the film you made with your old friend. How did Wild Strawberries start?
It started. It started just with my grandmother's flat in Uppsala. I went with a car from Stockholm to Dalekarlia, its place in north of Sweden. And I love very much to go up very early in the morning, at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I can go with a car. And I came to Uppsala at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it was spring, and it was daylight, already daylight. But you know how it is in a small city. It's very silent. Streets are empty, no cars, nothing. And suddenly I decided not to drive through the cities, but I went to my grandmother's street where she lived. And the street was empty, nobody there, and the birds were singing, as you know, as obsessed in the spring. And there is a big church, the Dome of Uppsala. It's an enormous old church, and the church clock was ringing 4 or 5. I don't remember. 4, I think. And then I went out of the car and crossed the street and went into the backyard and the staircase and up to the front door of my grandmother's flat. And everything was exactly as it was that time. And then I had the feeling, if I now, as when I was a very small little child, 6, 7 years old, open the door to the kitchen, everything would be exactly as it was when I was 10 years old.
Kan jag hjälpa dig? Nej, men du kan vara lite försiktig. Försiktig? Jag vill inte servera
I Jesu namn till bords vi går, välsigna Gud den mat vi får. Amen. Det ska bli härligt.
Sometimes I live in my childhood. When I go to sleep, just before falling asleep, I can go through the rooms of my grandmother, and it's almost photographic. Can be very fascinating. And sometimes when I feel unhappy or insecure or something like that, it can be some sort of a technique to go back just to this part of my life when I felt, by my grandmother, I always felt very secure and very at home. It was much more difficult with my parents and with my brother and sister and at home. But with my grandmother, it was always very patient and secure and nice.
Då jag under dagen varit orolig eller sorgsen brukar jag för att stilla mig återkalla minnen från barndomens värld. Så gjorde jag även denna afton.
Isak, lilla. Det finns inga smultron kvar. Moster vill att du ska leta reda på din pappa. Vi seglar runt udden och hämtar er på andra sidan ön.
Jag har redan letat efter honom, men jag hittar varken far eller mor.
Jag ska hjälpa dig.
You've said that you used your childhood for consolation when you...
What's consolation?
Consolation. You said when you wanted to feel secure, you would think about this particular... Do you find yourself using it for all other purposes, to start films off, to...
Yes, in a way. Sometimes when I am in the studio or on the stage, I have a very strange feeling that I'm still playing a game. Outside I am grown up, but in a way it's a betray. It is some sort. Is betray the right word?
A betrayal.
Betray. You know, inside.
It's just a
really,
mask.
Yes. It's a mask.
Yeah, a disguise. So
Yes. So. In a way, I'm still a child. I think I'm playing my games still. You know, if you are a child, the games are very often on life and death. And still, of course, my games in the studio, on the stage, are very important. They are the most important that exist in the whole world for the moment. But sometimes I can go out from myself, and the child can't, but I can now, because I am so old now. So I can go out of myself and say, be quiet, Ingmar, this is only a play. You only play a game. And I think that's very healthy.
You spend a lot of time in your films on the human face.
Oh, yes.
A lot of time. And you've said that faces are the most interesting thing to you.
I think it's a big thing. It's very clear. The face, the human face, is the most cinematographic thing that exists. It's sensational. You can also in the television you can sit fascinated and look at a face for hours because it changes the whole time.
Du måste förstå. Jag är ingen bra präst. Jag har trott på en orimlig, alldeles privat, faderlig Gud som visserligen älskade människorna, men mig mest av alla. Förstår du, gjort fruktansvärda misstag. Förstår du vilken dålig präst det måste bli av en sån instängd, bortskämd, ängslig stackare? Kan du föreställa mina böner till en ekogud som gav välvilliga svar, betryggande välsignelser? Var gång jag konfronterade Gud med den verklighet jag såg blev han ful, vederstygglig, en spindelgud, ett monstrum.
I had to face all those romantics about my relation with to the eternal questions, to God and I had to come through it and to find out why do I work, why do I make my pictures, why all those questions. It's very personal, and the result was exactly in the winter lights that the only important thing that is to go on, and until they throw you out.
No.
Nej, det är bara fröken Lundberg som sitter där ute. Ja, det är ju inte bara förstås. Det är tid för sammanringningen. När folk har den så då brukar de skynda sig.
Vi kunde få trygghet så att vi vågade visa varandra ömhet. Och vi kunde tro på en sanning. Och vi kunde tro.
Så vi gör högmässa då? Ja.
Helig, helig, helig är Herren Gud allsmäktig. Hela jorden är full av hans härlighet.
You have said that each film is to be you think of each film as your last.
Yes.
Do you mean that?
Yes. I said it 25 years ago or something like that, so it's a long time ago, but I always have the feeling, if I don't think it that way, this picture will be my last picture. I will have some considerations, you know, I will think I have to be sympathetic to this one and I have to find out how to please that one, or how to finance it so it will be I can continue. It's the only thing I have to be loyal to. It's the picture and the people around me, together with me making the picture. Everything else is of no importance. And it has to be the last picture. It's nice to sing that way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's all over. Ah! Oh, God heavens.
Ingmar Bergman in Munich, and next week we'll show the first part of a film made in association with Merchant Ivory Productions, made by James Ivory, set in India, about art collectors chasing a legendary collection of beautiful Indian miniature paintings. The film's written by Ruth Prawajabwala. It stars Peggy Ashcroft. Good night.